Hello and welcome to one more episode of our Learning Hammerspoon series. In this episode, we are going to look into Hammerspoon's abilities for making window manipulation easier and much more comfortable to do on the Mac. Let's get started. So here we are again in the Hammerspoon spoons page. So far, we are still looking at doing as much as we can using spoons. In future episodes, we are going to start looking at more details about the Hammerspoon API so that you can actually program your automation the way you want it. But for now, let's look for spoons that have something to do with Windows. And there are a few matches here. Let us do a search on the page. And we come here to a few ones. Miro Window Manager. This is one of the spoons that we are going to look at today. We're also going to look here at window halves and thirds. And finally, we are going to look at this spoon called Window Grid, which offers an alternative model for window manipulation. To save some time, I have pre-entered some of the configuration here in our growing Hammerspoon configuration file, and we will go one by one. You'll notice here that some of the spoons that we are not going to use yet are disabled simply by specifying disable equals true in the spoon install statement that we use. But we will start with Window Grid. This is a spoon that basically allows us to split the screen into a fixed grid. And in this case, for example, it's a 6x4 grid. And when toggled by the hotkey that we are specifying here for the show grid action, we are going to see this grid and be able to select to which parts of the grid I want a window to be fitted. So let's restart our Hammerspoon configuration so that this is loaded. Here we see that the window grid spoon has been installed, and looking here at the configuration of our Hyper-G key, let's press it, and we get our 6 across by 4 down window grid. And here the expected mode of operation is I type the numbers or the letters for the top left and bottom right segments that I want to resize the window to. So for example, in this case, I click 1D and the currently active window gets resized to that size. You can see this here, 3B, and it gets resized again. It's that simple. We can do it again. Let's do it again full screen. You can change the sizing of the grid. You can change the key that you want to assign. And we also see here one more statement that we hadn't seen before, and it's this start equals true attribute for spoon install. Some spoons require to be started in order to be activated. This is something that we usually see here in the spoons API documentation. Start sets the grid configuration according to the configured parameters. So this is something that we need to specify, and the spoon install spoon makes it easy to just specify this attribute, and then that method is called automatically. Okay, so window grid is an interesting way and often useful way of manipulating window sizes, but we may want to explore some others. Window halves and thirds is another spoon. Let us look at it here. Actually, this is a spoon I wrote. So we are going to here remove this disable equals true statement. And this has a number of hotkeys that are activated by default by specifying these hotkeys equals default. This is specific to this spoon. And you can see here in its documentation the set of default hotkeys that are used for different actions. So let us try it now. Let us restart Hammerspoon again. And now I'm going to press some of the sample keys, for example, half of the screen, the other half, top half, bottom half, uh, left third, middle third, and also horizontally. And I can also make it full size. So very simple also. I used this spoon for a very long time, but recently I discovered the Miro Windows Manager spoon. This is another spoon available in the spoon repository. And what we are going to do is disable this one again, because some of the keys may conflict. So we enable this one. And the Miro Windows Manager spoon doesn't have default keys. So we define a few, basically the same as for the window halves and thirds spoon, just to avoid confusion. Actually, I am noticing here that we are using a variable control command, which I don't see is declared yet here. So we are going to declare it here. Control command is control and command. And then we can use that variable down there. One more aspect, something to be aware of, is that Miro Windows Manager internally uses the same grid module as the window grid spoon. So to avoid confusion, it is best to have these two grids configured to the same sizes. Otherwise, you get some weird effects. For now, just to show you Miro Window Manager in its natural configuration, we are going to disable the window grid spoon and comment out this grid configuration so that Miro Windows Manager uses its default configuration. And I think this is it. We can restart the spoon. Sorry, restart Hammerspoon. Miro Windows Manager spoon is now available. And now let's try. Miro Windows Manager has now most of the same keys, but it's a bit more flexible in the sense that it allows us to resize with a bit more granularity the windows and also move them like this, for example, while retaining the smaller sizes. So we can maximize vertically, maximize horizontally, and maximize to the full screen size. That's it for today. As usual, thank you for your attention, and I invite you to visit my website and also to check out my book, Learning Hammerspoon, available on Leanpub if you want to learn more. Thank you and see you next time.